Hello there, in this video lesson we're going to learn how to add a 4mm gem to a ring, and we're going to recreate this one here using an Akhenaten parametric smart object and a 4mm gem. So if we go to Blender, what we need to do is to go to the object library for rings, and you might need to scroll down, but you're basically looking for Akhenaten and we want 002, not 001, 002. Drag and drop that onto the workspace. Hit the P key on the keyboard, scroll the center mouse button towards you and click outside of the box. That centers it on the screen. Now that ring at the moment has got an inner diameter controlled by this object here, this circle or curve of 15mm. That's not an appropriate ring size, so what we need to do is to go over here and scroll down. Now you won't have all of these rings, but you will have these ones, and I'm looking for I'm looking for P plus 18.14. That's the dimensions I'm going to set this ring to. So you can do it to any size you want, but work for this one in this video. So drag and drop this onto the workspace and hit the P key on the keyboard, scroll the mouse towards you and click outside the box to center it. Now if I hold down the center mouse button and just rock it, and I'll just go back to ortho view, there's my Akhenaten pattern, and here is my P+. Now I don't want this thickness on the P+ ring, I want to remove that. So if you go over to the properties panel, click on the object data properties, this curve here, scroll down to geometry, scroll down to bevel object, and if I just open up this window here, the bevel object at the moment is 1mm by 5mm. In other words, this is 1mm thick and 5mm deep. You need to remove that. What we want is to wrap this Akhenaten ring around this outer circle now, this P+ circle. So click on the Akhenaten ring, and if we switch to the modifier properties, there are some modifier properties set up for this ring, and one of them is called set the ring size. That is in fact a curve modifier, but it's already set up for you in this instance, and it says the inner diameter, that's this inner circle, the original circle that came with the ring, is the ring size. Well, we want to change it to UKP+, and when we do that, you can see that the ring will reposition, and the default ring size here, the inner diameter of 15mm, if you highlight that and hit X on the keyboard, you can actually delete it. So the inside of the ring now is governed by this one, and you must make sure that you can in fact see the ring here, that it's not in the middle of the Akhenaten pattern. So the pattern's not complete at the moment, and we can complete it by going to set the columns. Now at the moment the count is 5. Well, if I take it down to 1, that's my basic parametric smart object. And you can find that by going to patterns parametric, and it's basically this object here in patterns parametric. And what we've done is apply some modifiers to it. Now to complete the ring, I need to go around, and I'm going to go to 7. I'm not going to complete it completely, I'm going to go to 7. Now I want to splay this ring slightly, so if I click on the UKP+ object, that circle there, UKP+, if I go to edit mode, and if I click on that control point at the top there, just the one point at the top, and if I press the N key on the keyboard and go to item, I can change this radius value. And if I type 1.5, you'll see it thickens up the ring at the top and widens it. I'm going to splay it out by a radius of 2. And if I just press the N key on the keyboard to close that, and if I go back to object mode now, and I'll just close this panel a little bit over here, and if I click on Z, I'll go back to top view. So I've thickened up the ring at the top and splayed it out slightly. Now if I go to Y, if I click on Y here, it will take me to what's called the back view, and here I'm looking down on top of the ring. Now when I zoom in and I'm just scrolling the center mouse button away from me, the center of this ring at the moment is not in line with this blue arrow. This center here needs to be moved across. Now the positioning of this ring will depend upon the pattern. So you will always have to change this. So what we need to do is we need to click on the ring itself, and go to edit mode and click on move. We want the move icon, and if we zoom in, what we want to do is to move it. Now we could have it maybe to the left or the right. I'm pretty sure it's to the right, but you'll have to play around. Just move it very, very slightly. I've literally just moved it this fraction here. And if we go back to object mode, I haven't quite lined it up correctly. I need to move it a little bit more. So if I go to edit mode and if I zoom in, and if I click on the red arrow and just move it across to the right, and basically I've just moved it one more square here, and then go to object mode, I've gone just a slight touch too far. So I'll go back to edit mode, zoom in, and I'm just going to move it back. I'm not going to move it back a whole unit there, just slightly, and go to object mode. And that is centered now. So it's really important to center this and this point here. Now, once we've done that, we can click on Z to go back to top view. And what we can do now is use Dual Craft to add a gem. So if we press the N key on the keyboard to open up the panel at the right here, and if we go to Dual Craft, and I'll just close assets down, I want to add a gem, and I'm going to add a 4mm gem, and I like to just change it to ruby because it just makes it in red, that's all, and just click OK. Now with the gem highlighted, if I hit the R key on the keyboard, X key on the keyboard to rotate it about X, and -90, that will just reorientate the gem so that it can go to the top of my ring. And if I just move it up now, I need to position it up there. And if I go to Y and just zoom in, and I'll just press the N key to close that panel down, I just need to look at the height of this now and see whether it's touching the ring. And if I just hold down the center mouse button and rock it, I like to go into ortho view, and I'm just holding down center mouse button and rocking it and zooming in. And if I hold down shift and drag the ring down by holding down the center mouse button, I can zoom in further. And I just need to position this gem so that it's just above the actual ring itself. And once you're happy with that, and if you then press the N key on the keyboard to open up the panel again, if we go to dueling, we can apply some prongs for this. So I've just put in 2 prongs, and if we just open up the panel here, so we've got 2 prongs, and at the moment the position of the 2 prongs isn't right. If I just click on Y, the prongs are not quite in the right position. They're -30 degrees here. And if I just click in there and type 0, I can position the prongs at the top and the bottom. If I did 90, it would be on the right and the left. The top and the bottom is the best place for them. And I'll just close that down. And if I just hold down the center mouse button, and I'm just zooming in here to check that the prong goes into the top of the ring, which it does. Now the gem's still highlighted, so what I need now is a cutter. And if I click on the cutter, you've got to make sure the gem is not selected here. Click on the cutter, hold down the shift key and click on the prong. We can use the cutting tool to make a notch in the prong, and we can do that by going to Booltron and doing the difference between the cutter and the prongs. And if I just hold down the center mouse button and move it around, you can see, I'll just hide that for the moment. So I've just clicked on the gem and clicked on I, so you can see how the cutting tool has cut into the prongs there. And that's essentially it now. Now our Akhenaten curve here is in fact still a curve. If I wanted, what I could do is go to Object and convert it to a mesh. And then if I click on the prongs and hold down the shift key and click on the Akhenaten pattern, and go to Booltron, and if I do a union, that will actually join the prongs to the Akhenaten pattern. Just takes a little bit of doing that. And so we'll just have one object there. Just taking a little bit of time to calculate on my machine, which is a fairly old machine, so it runs a little bit slowly. So I'm just joining the prongs to the Akhenaten pattern. The speed of this will depend upon how fast your computer is. Hopefully mine is going to do it, otherwise I'll run out of video time. Beginning to look like I shouldn't have done that. I should have just, it has done it, right? So the prongs are now a part of the actual Akhenaten pattern. And if I click on the round gem and hit X on the keyboard to delete it, I don't want to repair that in Netfab Basic. And if I take my Akhenaten ring now with the prongs at the top, if I go to File and export it as an OBJ file, export it to the desktop, and I'll just say ring plus 4mm gem, and export that OBJ file. So that will save it on my desktop, and you must always repair these things when using parametric smart objects. You must always repair them with Netfab Basic. So I'm just going to open up Netfab Basic, go to Project and Open. And I need to go to the desktop and open up the ring with a 4mm gem. Oh, I think it's because my computer's connected to the internet, it's Windows downloading as usual. Should have disconnected my internet connection. So there's my ring. And if I click open, I just need to repair that in Netfab Basic. So it's just loading the OBJ file for me now. Should just take 1 minute in Netfab Basic if I'd disconnected my internet connection. So there's my ring, and you can see the prongs at the top. And don't worry about the warning red triangle, just hit on repair. Update. So there's a couple of holes and some border edges. Click automatic repair and execute. Click on update. Vital that these are all 0. Apply the repair and remove the old part. And there is your ring now. So you just go to part and export it as a wavefront object and just write on top of that one. And that can then be sent to your slicer. If you get this message, don't worry, click optimize and then export. That can be sent to your slicer or uploaded to Shapeways. So yeah, that's essentially how you can add a 4mm gem to a ring. Thank you for watching.